Welcome back. Over the last 4 sessions, we've learned how memories are formed, why deep processing beats repetition, and how context determines whether you recognize your own bank manager. Today, we need to talk about something uncomfortable. Most of us believe our memory is a faithful recorder. We think it's a video camera, imperfect maybe, but fundamentally accurate. We trust our memories. We stake our identities, our relationships, and sometimes even our justice system on them. But here's the truth: memory is not a recording. It's a construction. And once you understand how memory really works, you'll never trust your own mind in quite the same way again. Let's get started. Part 1: The myth of the video camera. First, let's look at what the public believes versus what scientists know. Surveys reveal a massive gap. Most people believe that memory works like a video camera, recording events exactly as they happened. That hypnosis can accurately retrieve buried memories. That amnesia typically erases personal identity, think Hollywood amnesia. That a single confident eyewitness is enough to convict someone. Memory researchers reject all of this. The scientific consensus is clear: memory is reconstructive, fallible, and changes over time, whether we want it to or not. Part 2: Memory is constructive, not faithful. So what does reconstructive actually mean? It means that every time you remember something, you're not playing back a file. You're assembling a memory from fragments, using your existing knowledge, beliefs, and expectations to fill in the gaps. And here's the kicker: you have no idea which parts are real and which parts you just filled in. Example: 2 people witness a minor car accident. One is a seasoned car mechanic. The other is a painter with no mechanical knowledge. Both watch a car rear-end another at a traffic light. What happens during encoding and retrieval? The mechanic's prior knowledge, brake systems, stopping distances, hydraulic pressure, shapes what he notices and remembers. Later, he might say, the brake lights didn't come on until a full second after the first car stopped. Could be slow hydraulics. He may even confidently remember seeing brake fluid leaking, even if it wasn't there. The artist remembers the color of the cars, the angle of impact, the reflection of light off the windshield. She has no framework for mechanical details. Those details simply aren't encoded, or they're quickly lost. Same event. 2 different memories. Both are confident. Neither is complete. This is the first rule of constructive memory: we remember what we have the knowledge to understand. Prior expertise acts as a filter. It determines what we attend to, how we interpret it, and what we later recall. Part 3: Stereotypes and the stories we tell ourselves. Now, if prior knowledge can shape memory, what happens when that knowledge is a stereotype? This is where it gets disturbing. We don't just remember events and then form beliefs about them. Our beliefs actively reshape our memories to fit what we already think is true. The Linda problem. This is a famous experiment by Tversky and Kahneman. Participants are given a description. Linda is 31 years old, single, outspoken, and very bright. She majored in philosophy. As a student, she was very concerned with issues of discrimination and social justice, and also participated in anti-nuclear demonstrations. Later, participants are asked, which is more probable? A. Linda is a bank teller. B. Linda is a bank teller and is active in the feminist movement. Logically, option B cannot be more probable than option A. It's a subset. A bank teller who is also a feminist is a smaller group than all bank tellers. Yet, overwhelmingly, people choose B. Why? Your stereotype of a feminist, socially active philosophy major is so strong that you reconstruct your memory of the question to fit that belief. You feel like you remember her being described as a feminist activist. she wasn't. But your belief about Linda's identity reshapes your memory of the facts. This is profound. We alter our specific memories to fit our abstract beliefs, not the other way around. Part 4: Cultural Memory, the Self versus the Collective. Memory isn't just shaped by individual beliefs. It's shaped by entire cultures. Research shows that the content and focus of autobiographical memory differ systematically between individualistic and collectivistic societies. Individualistic culture example. Last summer, I went to Bali. I stayed at this amazing resort, learned to surf, and read 3 books. I really needed that time to recharge. I felt so free and independent. The focus is personal experience, individual activities, self-development, and internal states. The protagonist is the central figure. The meaning is about autonomy and self-care. Collectivistic culture example. Last summer, our family went to Bali. My parents, my sister, and my grandmother all came. We ate together every evening. My grandmother told stories about her youth. It was special to have 3 generations together. The focus is group identity, family unit, shared activities, intergenerational connection, and relational harmony. Others are central. The meaning is about togetherness and collective experience. Same destination. Different cultural frameworks. Different memories. Not better or worse, but shaped by what each culture teaches us is worth remembering and how we are taught to see ourselves in relation to others. Part 5: Schemas, the Brain Shortcut. This brings us to a crucial concept: schemas. Schemas are your brain's mental frameworks, your general knowledge about how the world works. What belongs in a graduate student's office? What a flight attendant looks like? What happens at a gas station? Schemas help us navigate the world efficiently. But they also create false memories. Example: the flight attendant on the wrong airline. You fly frequently for work. You take a Delta flight to Chicago. 2 weeks later, a colleague asks, "How was your United flight?" What do you remember? You describe the flight in detail: the United livery, the uniform of the flight attendant, the snack options. You feel certain it was United. It was Delta. But your general knowledge of air travel and business trips made the airline label interchangeable in memory. Your brain reconstructed the experience using the schema of flying, not the specific episodic details. You didn't notice the substitution because the schema felt true. This is how false memories are born. Not through dramatic confabulation, but through quiet, invisible substitutions. Part 6: The Constructed Life, How Stories Become Memories. Perhaps the most unsettling demonstration of constructive memory is this: you can develop a full, confident memory of an event that never happened to you. Example: the accidentally locked in the car story. A parent tells a story at a family gathering. Remember when we accidentally locked you in the car at the gas station when you were 3? The now adult child has no memory of this. The parent describes it vividly: the summer heat, the panic, the frantic search for a coat hanger, the relief when the door finally opened. Over the following weeks, the adult child begins to remember. First, just a vague image. Then more details: the smell of gasoline, the vinyl seat sticking to their legs, the face of a stranger who tried to help. Eventually, they have a full, confident memory of the event. The truth? The parent's story was passed down. The adult child was never locked in a car. But the repeated retelling, combined with general knowledge of child in peril scenarios, allowed a false memory to be constructed from the narrative alone. The memory feels real, it has been rehearsed and integrated into personal history, but it is entirely fabricated. This is not lying. This is how memory works. Part 7, Bartlett's Legacy, the telephone game in your head. This isn't new science. In 1932, psychologist Frederick Bartlett demonstrated this with a famous experiment. He gave participants an unfamiliar Native American folktale called The War of the Ghosts. It was full of supernatural elements and cultural references that made little sense to his British participants. He asked them to recall the story repeatedly, over hours, days, months, even years. What happened? The story didn't stay the same. With each recall, participants omitted unfamiliar elements, distorted details to fit their own cultural framework, added new information to make the story coherent. Bartlett's conclusion: memory is not a reproduction. It is an imaginative reconstruction. We preserve the gist and fill in the gaps with whatever seems plausible, desirable, and consistent with our existing beliefs. Given real-life example, the telephone game in workplace communication. A CEO sends an email, "We are exploring flexible work arrangements. A pilot program may begin in Q3 for select departments." Department head tells their manager, "CEO is launching flexible work. Q3. Some departments will be included." Manager tells their team, "We're getting flexible work in Q3. Our department might be part of the pilot." Team member tells a colleague, "Flexible work starts Q3. We're definitely included." Colleague tells a friend, "My company is going fully remote in September." No one lied. Each person reconstructed the message to make it more coherent, simpler, more aligned with their desires and expectations. Ambiguity was removed. Conditionals became certainties. Exploring became launching. Select departments became we're included. This is Bartlett's principle in everyday life. We do not reproduce. We reconstruct. Part 8. But wait, isn't memory sometimes accurate? At this point, you might be thinking, hold on. This sounds like memory is completely unreliable. But I remember my wedding day. I remember my child being born. Those memories are accurate, aren't they? Yes. And this brings us to an important criticism and nuance. Bartlett's experiments used exotic, unfamiliar stories and had participants recall alone on paper with no feedback. That's not how we usually remember. In real life, memory is often collaborative, cued, and motivated. Example: the family story that stays accurate. A grandmother tells the same story every Thanksgiving, how she and her siblings survived the Great Depression on a small farm in Iowa. Dust storms, the vegetable garden, the coal stove, the one-room schoolhouse. What happens over decades? Unlike Bartlett's participants, who distorted the War of the Ghosts rapidly, this family story remains remarkably stable across 50 years and 4 generations. Why? 'Cause it is socially rehearsed in a corrective context. When a grandchild misremembers a detail, was it 3 chickens or 4? The grandmother corrects them. When an aunt embellishes, an uncle says, "That's not how Mom tells it." The memory is anchored by artifacts, photographs, a worn quilt, the farmhouse itself. These external cues stabilize the narrative. The story is personally and culturally meaningful. It is not an exotic, arbitrary text, it is the family's origin myth. The motivation to remember accurately is high, and the social environment provides constant feedback. This is the ecological validity critique. Bartlett's solitary decontextualized recall task eliminated these natural supports. In the real world, memory is often reasonably accurate and stable. Other studies, for example, Wynn and Logie 1998, found that personally relevant and distinctive memories can be quite stable and resistant to change over time. One example, the birth of a child. A mother is asked, "Do you remember the moment your first child was born?" Decades later, she can describe the delivery room, the doctor's face, the time of birth, her husband's reaction, the baby's first cry, her overwhelming emotion. Why does this memory resist distortion? First, distinctiveness. No event is more singular than the birth of one's first child. It is not confused with other births. Second, personal relevance. This memory defines her identity as a mother. It is central to her life narrative. Lastly, emotional intensity. The experience is saturated with powerful, complex emotion. 50 years later, her memory remains vivid and largely accurate. It has not been reconstructed into something unrecognizable. It has been preserved like a pearl through decades. Conclusion: memory is malleable but not meaningless. So where does this leave us? 1. Memory is not a video camera. It is a reconstructive process shaped by our knowledge, beliefs, stereotypes, and culture. 2 people witness the same event. 2 different memories are constructed. 2. False memories are real. They feel exactly like true memories. Confidence is not a reliable indicator of accuracy. You can be absolutely certain and absolutely wrong. 3. Stereotypes and schemas quietly edit our past. We remember what we expect to see. We forget what doesn't fit. We confidently recall details that were never there. 4. But memory is not always distorted. Distinctive, emotionally intense, personally significant, and socially rehearsed memories can remain remarkably stable across decades. The birth of a child. The family story anchored by photographs and repeated corrections. These memories endure. The core truth: memory is malleable. It can be altered by post-event information, suggestions, and our need for narrative consistency. But it is not entirely unreliable. It is human, fallible, creative, and sometimes, against all odds, faithful. Understanding this doesn't mean you should trust nothing you remember. It means you should hold your memories, especially your confident ones, with a little more humility. Your memory is not a recorder. It is a storyteller. And like all good storytellers, it cares less about perfect accuracy and more about a coherent, meaningful narrative. That is both its flaw and its genius. But be curious, be humble, and pay attention to the stories your mind tells you. Some of them may be true. Some of them may be yours. See you next time.